Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss epidemiology. The first unit of epidemiology is Introduction to Epidemiology. My name is Tariq Siraj Qazi. Today we will discuss some core concepts about epidemiology. So by the end of this unit, the viewers will be able to understand the important terminology related to epidemiology. We will also discuss the core concepts of epidemiology. And by the end of this lesson, the viewer will also know the types of epidemiology and the uses and scope of epidemiology. So the first term that we will learn is epidemic. Epidemic refers to the occurrence of cases of an illness in community. For example, pandemic of obesity, pandemic of diabetes mellitus. It means that the cases of this illness, which is here, an example is obesity. So the cases of obesity in a specified population. Nowadays, when COVID-19 is in a lamplight, so we will say that when the first time the outbreak happened in Wuhan, so at that time COVID-19 was epidemic because it was contained to that province. But when the disease spread worldwide and a lot of people are suffering from that disease, so as the population changes, the term also change. So we call it pandemic. So when the disease spread worldwide and people suffered across the globe, so WHO, the World Health Organization, announced it as pandemic. Now, the other term is endemic. It means that disease will permanently exist in a specific region, like never zero cases, for example, malaria. If we go and do screening in areas where there is standing water and a lot of mosquitoes, there will be cases of malaria. So when the disease always present in a specific region, we call it endemic. Now, what is population? We talk about changing in population. So, what is population? Population is all the individual. They they are living in specific area, and we are going to to know the disease spread in that area. So, all the individuals are our population. For example, if we talk about COVID-19 and Pakistan, so all the individual of Pakistan is our population. If we talk about the COVID-19 in KPK province, it means that we are talking about all the individual living in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The other word is determinant. Determinant, any factor that bring about changes in health condition, we call it determinant. Morbidity and mortality. So morbidity is illness due to specific disease, and morbidity rate is disease rate. So as we know that COVID-19, we said that the morbidity rate of this disease is very high. It means that people can get this disease very frequently. It is more contagious. But when we talk about mortality, so first we know that the COVID-19 is not the mortality of COVID-19 is not that high because people don't die that frequently from disease unless they are having some other comorbids like they are susceptible, their immune system is quite weak or advanced age, etc. So morbidity is the disease rate and mortality rate is the death rate. Quantification means the use of statistical measures to describe the occurrence of health outcome as well as to measure their association with the exposure. An incubation period, which is quite simple, and nowadays people talk about it, that when you get the infected agent into your body, the invasion occur, but the sign and symptoms are not yet appear. So that period of time we call it incubation period. Now, the other word is disability. Any restriction to perform any normal activity, we call it disability. For example, walking is a normal activity, but when you get diabetic foot and you cannot walk, so we say that this disability occur because of their disease. So when after discussing all the key terminology, we can define epidemiology as that it is the branch of medicine which deal with the incidence. Incident mean the occurrence of new cases in a population, and distribution, which is the frequency and who, where, when the people are getting this disease, and possible control, disease prevention, and other factors related to health. So all these things come under the umbrella of epidemiology. Now, types of epidemiology. The first type is descriptive epidemiology. As the name indicates, it will only describe, it will give the frequencies of a disease. For example, who is affected by this disease, where, place, that where are people getting affected, and when, time. So it look at disease distribution and frequency, but there will be no talk about any association about the risk factor or the outcome. There will be no association about that, just to give us the description of the diseases. So after my other lectures, we will study the epidemiological study designs. So we will talk about descriptive epidemiology and their study design, which will be cross-sectional study. Analytical epidemiology means that it will give us comparison. It will try to analyze the causes and the risk factor, so it will give us the clues about the process of a disease spread, how the disease is spreading in a population, why. It means that there will be a relationship of variables. And the other one is experimental epidemiology. Experimental epidemiology means the effectiveness of new methods or interventions. For example, if I discover a new medicine and I am going to know the effectiveness of that medicine, so I will study this, the effect of this disease, effect of this medicine. And experimental epidemiology, I will get some people, will divide it into group. I will give medicine to one and will leave the other untouched, and after that I will see the effect. So it will come under the umbrella of experimental epidemiology. Now the other is evolution. Evaluation is, so what, any improvement occur, what facilitated the changes. So evaluation epidemiology is either by the end of your study or in between your study, you will do this kind of epidemiology. Now, when we talk about the uses of epidemiology, so first we will talk about the historical use. Historical use of epidemiology is to study the health of a population. It documents the pattern of a disease, types and causes of morbidity and mortality over the time. So this is a historical use of epidemiology. Now community health use. So Morris described this use as follow, that epidemiology, the use of epidemiology can be to diagnose the health of a community and the condition of the people. So why we are going to diagnose it? Because to measure the true duration and distribution of ill health in term of what? Incidents. Incident mean the new cases, prevalence, the already existing cases, and disability, which we already discussed, and mortality. So to measure these things, what we want to do to set a health problem and perspective and to define their relative importance so that we can identify that group which need or specific attention. So this is a community health use of epidemiology. The other is health services use. So Morris also proposed that epidemiology could be used to study the working of health services with the view of their improvement, operational research, and expectation in terms of needs for services and how to meet. The other is disease causality use. So Morris wrote that epidemiology can be used to search for causes of health and disease by computing the experiences or group defined by their composition, inheritance, and experiment experience, their behavior and environment. Risk assessment use. Morris also said that epidemiology can be used to estimate the group experience, what are the individual risk on average of disease, incidence and defect, and chances of avoiding them. So it will more likely assess the risk of a disease and how can we avoid those risks. So, what is risk? Risk is the possibility that an event will occur. For example, if I'm smoking, it means that there is a risk that I will develop a lung cancer. So that the individual will become ill or die. So if there is a possibility, we call it risk. Now, what is risk factor? Is an exposure that the associated with the disease, mortality, and morbidity, just like cigarette smoking is related to lung cancer. Now, the role of epidemiology. So, if we see, the major role of epidemiology is to provide a clue to change that take place over time in the health problem presenting in community. Objective is to identify what to identify the etiology or causes of a disease and relevant risk factor to determine the extent of a disease found in a community, to study natural history of a disease, the preclinical, the clinical phases that we will discuss in other lectures. Also, uh, evaluate both existing and new development in preventing in therapeutic manner to and moves to healthcare delivery to provide the foundation for developing health care policy. The scope of epidemiology is to study disease and how they spread. It is the part of public health. They track many diseases and how they are moving in the world. It concerns with the communicable diseases which spread. It work on ways to stop the spread of these either by vaccines to prevent or other ways to cure. Thank you so much and please subscribe my YouTube channel and press the bell icon in case you don't wanna miss any other lectures. Thank you so much.